Today we're meeting with Secretary of State Delbert Hoseman, who is visiting DeSoto County, and with the upcoming June 1st primary, probably has his hand full this week.
We do. In Mississippi, before I came to be Secretary of State, we really hadn't got out to visit the precincts. In fact, one of the first bills that we authored and were passed by the legislature and signed by the governor was one to require the Secretary of State to give a report every year to the legislature on what's right and wrong with the election system. And I've used that as a vehicle to get out to the precincts. We'll be in the precincts here in DeSoto County, and we'll be in many of the counties in Mississippi. We pretty much clear out the office on Election Day. And as part of that, we've learned a good bit about elections in Mississippi, and we've been able to give statistical information, good hard facts to the legislature to address election issues. And those range from voter ID to absentee and affidavit ballot fraud. So where we are able to go out and get good information now for the legislature and for the public to start the process of making sure the election runs better. Each time we've been doing that, and it's been very enlightening. As I said, just 2 years ago is when we started actually going into the precincts. When I came on board, I thought it was important for us to literally get on the ground and see what was happening. And there are about 1,800 precincts in Mississippi. So we won't get to all of them on next Tuesday, but we'll be in a number of the ones in the 1st Congressional District.
What are the major problems that you've seen in Mississippi elections in the last?
Well, there are several. Absentee and affidavit ballot fraud are the ones that give us the most problems. Our calls on Tuesday, there'll be a lot of those about people campaigning within 150 feet of the actual polling place, or actually coming into the polling place, and of course that's illegal. And we want everybody to be able to vote in confidence and secrecy in Mississippi, and not be intimidated by people giving them flowers in the ballot box room, and standing out in front too close to the polls. If you go to vote, you ought to be able to cast your ballot in a secure manner without intimidation, and so you'll see us playing a big role in that kind of thing. We continue to worry about affidavit ballot fraud in Mississippi, making sure that the people who actually ask for affidavit ballots are the ones that receive them and cast them, and that's really important.
Explain an affidavit ballot.
Well, an affidavit ballot is where someone requests that they receive a ballot by mail, and or an absentee ballot, where they receive a ballot by mail, and they claim that in an absentee ballot, they claim that they actually are out of the county. Absentee ballots are allowed for people over age 65 or disabled. There's several different requirements, but they claim they're going to be out of the county on election day, and so as such they receive an absentee ballot to vote. And we want to make sure that the people that receive them are entitled to them, the people that vote them are the people that receive them. Pretty basic stuff. Affidavit ballot fraud we have less of a problem with on election day. That's where you come in and cast a ballot even though you're not on the poll books themselves. But to remedy as much of those kinds of situations, particularly where you have an adjoining state, as you have here in DeSoto County, we were a group that entered into with the adjoining states around Mississippi to determine who had registered twice. That was one of the things I started last year. And that group includes Tennessee, Arkansas, and Louisiana. We were unable to reach an agreement with Alabama on the same matter. But in Tennessee, we found that in Mississippi, we have almost 10,000 people who are registered to vote in Mississippi who at a later time registered in Tennessee. And we matched those by their first names, last names, date of birth, and the last 4 digits of their Social Security number. So I'm pretty confident that these are people who have dual registrations. So you'll be seeing in the next few days letters out to our election commissioners, and I met with the election commissioners today in DeSoto County to explain what was coming. They were very encouraged. They do a great job here. They were very encouraged to get these and start the process of purging those people off the ballot. In DeSoto County, there were over 1,700 of those people who had dual registrations just in Tennessee. And in Arkansas and Louisiana, there were several hundred more.
So is the follow-up to purge them from the rolls, and then you follow them up with a letter, or?
Yes, what we do, the first thing would be to contact, like in our case, would be Shelby County, and make sure that they registered to vote there, which will give us an automatic opportunity to remove them from voting here. If we can't get the registrar, the local registrar to work with us, then we can send out a postcard, and 2 federal elections later, they can be purged from the rolls.
Okay. How many of those folks perhaps are voting both places, do you think, or is it just they haven't moved their registration?
We don't know, but we have put a great emphasis since I've been there on purging the voter rolls and making sure our voter rolls are accurate for a lot of reasons. First of all, that you cast your ballot and it just counts once. Bloated voter rolls were a real problem in Mississippi. When I came on board, there were 29 counties that had more people registered to vote than were alive in them. And so that's just an opportunity for mischief in Mississippi. So we've placed great emphasis on working with the election commissioners, and the ones here have done a great job in DeSoto County. We've been working with them on how to go about purging the voter rolls, making sure they're current. And this process where we're catching dual registrations is part of an overall package to get the voter rolls right.
Voter ID is always a topic in Mississippi. Is it ever going to happen? Is it necessary? Can we live without it?
I think it is necessary. I think it's a critical part of the voting apparatus, and making sure we can ensure that every vote counts for one. The problems, I can give you direct instances of which we have had dead people voting. In Brookhaven, for example, we had an individual show up at 5 o'clock. She had already been voted, and when she looked at the voter rolls, her mother had already voted. Her mother had been dead for 2 years. So we find those instances around in which voter ID would solve obvious problems. But as important to that, and as important as that is, I think the concept of the integrity of the vote is just as critical. We need people to believe that their vote counts. We have a diminishing number of people participating in the democratic process, and that's problematic for us. We need to have more people voting in Mississippi and across the country. It's a national phenomenon. But part of that people need to know that their vote's only going to count once, and that the vote that they cast is secure. So when you have voting problems, when you have people say they're dead people voting, or you have people that are casting these absentee ballots incorrectly, or in Benton County, as you noted, just last year, they convicted, I believe, 4 now and have charged 12 others with voting fraud. And they were selling their votes for the Department of Education superintendent for $25 or a case of beer. So those kinds of things, and it was on TV here and spread all over North Mississippi, that makes people think, well, the integrity of the system's broken. So we want to prosecute each and every one of those that we can. We want to make sure the integrity of the vote goes, and voter ID is a part of that.